one of the things I want to start off with you, Egberto,
Yes.
and definitely I'm going to go to you next, Mr. Warren. I've said it, and I've heard you say some things alluding to this, how important this election is, this upcoming election, November 6th to be exact. And we know early voting does start tomorrow, Monday. Why is this election so important, and why is it so apropos and necessary for people not only to register if they haven't, well, definitely to be registered,
Right.
but to get out there and to vote and to incline anyone else to go vote as well?
First of all, I want to tell you, when I leave here, I'm going to a camp out in front of the voting place at West Gray. That is how serious this is. That is how serious it is.
They got people camping out, man.
Oh yeah, you know, we're sending a message. We're sending a message in Harris County, and we're going to send a message throughout the country.
Man.
So we're going to camp out at the voting booth. We know what they're doing right now is a whole lot of voter suppression, not only here in Texas but throughout the country. So one of the things that I don't know if everybody remember what President Obama said. He said, "Look, yeah, they're going to try the voter suppression, but that should be no excuse to lose." Because the voter suppression can take 1 or 2% off the poll, off your numbers. But the reality is, if we go out in the numbers that we actually represent, there is no way the other side can beat us. The truth of the matter is that people with our ideology, the vast majority of Americans have our ideology. That we don't vote is the real reason we lose. And it is incumbent upon all of us, absolutely every single person in this studio right now, every single person that's listening to our voices right now, not only to vote themselves, but to go out there and pull others to the poll and let the folks know how important it is. Look, I am originally from another place. And I tell you one thing, when I came here, it's the first time that I ever got the opportunity to vote. And I can tell you that I've never missed that opportunity to vote, because I know what these guys over here who fought for the vote really meant. When I came here, I had already known about Martin Luther King. Everybody in the rest of the world knows about Martin Luther King, just like they know about Mahatma Gandhi and all these other leaders. These folks have put themselves on the line for us to actually create a democracy. When the president speaks about make America great again, America was never great. We have begun to make America great. So that is what we have to instill in the minds of other people. It's not about what's been, but what we are going to make it. And the only way we can make it is if we actually go out there and be representative of what we really are and go out there and vote. So that is one thing that Cedric, that is one thing that I really want to kind of impose on folks right there. It's not about self anymore. It's about us making things happen. And none of us are going to do it on our own. All of us have to get together, both in our communities, wherever that is. I don't care if you're in the ghetto, the barrios, in Appalachia, or where. We are the ones who have to make it happen.
Well said. Warren, one of the things I want to ask you is we've seen Kavanaugh and we've seen the red wave rise up. Are you excited? Are you looking forward to Republicans coming underneath the ground, so to speak, and representing and not only keeping this strong wave of red, meaning that the Republicans will sustain the House, the Senate, and of course the executive office, which won't be up for grabs until 2020. Are you encouraged, or are you a little fearful that Egberto and many of the others will be able to instill and implement a blue wave?
No, I'm not fearful at all. I'm very much encouraged. # walk away. I think the problem is a lot of people need to be more or less educated on Texas, on the history of the United States and Texas itself. Condoleezza Rice put it this way, because I hear people, when we talk about politics, a lot of people basically talk about ethnicity, they talk about religion and all these other things that involves politics. But Condoleezza Rice put it like this. She says, the essence of America, that which really unites us, is not ethnicity or nationality or religion. It is an idea. And what an idea it is, that you can come from humble circumstances and do great things. That it does not matter where you come from, but where you are going. We must first understand what what the United States is all about. And to make it, to just round it off to the bottom line, it's about money. It's not about anything else but money. The United States is a corporation itself. And so one of the reasons why this election, my brother over here said that America was never great, but I see more people trying to come to it than I see people trying to leave it. One thing about this election, the reason why it is so important is because this election really is not about Republican or Democrat. It's not about your normal right-wing Republican or your left-wing Democrat. What this election is really more about is globalism versus nationalism. That's what this election is about. That's why it's so important. But it comes up under these hats. What you find up under the Democratic left wing is globalism. You find the New World Order. You find liberals and progressives. Up under the Republican right wing hat, you find nationalism, patriots, conservatives, Christians, gun owners, and veterans. So Trump has basically put a dent in the New World Order, and I am so glad and so happy that that has happened, because the America that we know is slipping away, and it's about to be gone. So I'm glad that happened, because when you start talking about a New World Order, a one world government, you're really putting things in a perspective to where if you want the government to control everybody, when you bring in socialism or communism, then you've lost the freedom. So the freedoms that we have, in spite of all our flaws and obstacles that we dealt with, is about to get away. So no, I am not fearful at all of a blue wave.
Okay. One of the things I want to ask before we jump right into it is, Ms. P, many of the elderly community, the seniors, have normally, through the years, have categorically went out to vote. Do you foresee the young community and the young voters? Do you see them giving a run for the seniors' money, or do you see this is just going to be business as usual, based on your experience on the campus of Texas Southern and being immersed around young people? Do you see an enthusiasm? Beto is depending upon it, and many other progressive candidates are depending upon the youth vote. Do you see that becoming something that's ripe and ready, or is it just a misnomer?
I think it's right. See it at Texas Southern University. The student SGA has registered.
Thank you for that call. Appreciate that call.
Has registered 2,000 students, and the students are excited. I don't know about the grown folks, but the students are excited about voting. And one thing that I've noticed, because I ran for office twice, one thing I noticed about these seniors, they've been pressurized to let the candidate workers fill out their forms for them. And so they put who they want to put on it. Most of the time they don't read, and that's the most important thing, is for them to read and stop listening to what the representatives have to say and who they need to vote for. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, we just need to read. We need to read and be acquainted with each person that's running for office. And we need to I want to make this statement. Everybody that live in 5th Ward, Acres Home, Sunnyside, South Union, and the bottom of 3rd Ward, when you get up in the morning, I need you to go look at your community and see how deplorable it looks. And you know why it look like that? Because you don't vote. When they look at the voting records and they see you don't vote, they don't put no money in your community. So that should be one reason why you need to get out and vote, old, young, and all. And all you young folks running around here being cute, spending $400 or $500 on some wigs and $30, $40 on some nails. Y'all need to be out here voting, because this voting is very important. Number one, you voting for people in Texas that's going to govern your life. You voting for a governor, the lieutenant governor.
That's right.
You voting. You voting for somebody in the county that's going to be govern your life right here. And you need to get out and vote. And you old folks need to be encouraging these kids to vote. At my house, everybody vote. You don't vote, you don't eat.
Egberto,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you this. We know healthcare is a major issue.
Yes.
We know that immigration is a major issue. We know that border security and things of that nature are major issues in this upcoming election, and there will be a referendum on the Trump administration.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you, what keeps you encouraged, what keeps you motivated, and what keeps you, even after you leave here, going to go do other things that will hopefully, put, the progressive agenda further and farther in degree and distance into accomplishing the goals in which you've set out?
I have a lot of faith in people, and I have a lot of faith that if people believe that there is a reason for them to vote. If they believe that their vote has value, if we can convince them that they make a difference, I think they will go out there and vote. I don't think that the reason people haven't been voting is because somehow they are just lazy or anything of that sort. It's because why go ahead and get a babysitter and go to vote if it's not going to make a difference? Why go ahead and do all these things for the community, as my friend here said, if they know that no matter what they do, the mayor isn't going to make it better for the city. I had some friends come in from Atlanta during the last flood. I live in Kingwood, Texas. The mayor was in Kingwood, Texas 2 or 3 times for people who don't particularly like him. However, I went out there in Studewood and some other places were flooded with friends out of Georgia who brought cookers out of Georgia to take care of those people. You know how many politicians were out there?
Brought hookers?
None.
None. Okay? So what I'm saying is people in all these other neighborhoods have to know that their vote matters. And so far it hasn't. They go into these communities when they have to go into these communities, and whether it's be Latino, the ghettos, or poor white communities. You see, the issue right now about getting people to vote is, my brother here was correct. When you mentioned about race and when you mentioned about those issues, you're absolutely right. I've been preaching that a long time, but from the progressive point of view. Mm-hmm. When you talk about globalism, you're absolutely right. I've been preaching that from the progressive point of view. Mm-hmm. And when I talk about the left and the right rails, is exactly what I mean. What happens with the track? They move in the same direction. We have the left rail and the right rail moving in the same direction. However, the progressives and the right wing, they're moving in the opposite directions. Which one do you want? I'm pretty darn sure you want the one on the left, no matter what your piece of paper there says. The reality is, if we really want to make a difference in this country, screw what you hear people talk about, socialism and democratic socialism and all of that. The problem is they don't have a clue what that means.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. When you go to the hospital, whoever you are, like Brother Cedric just said underneath there, the only way you know you're going to get care, absolute care, if you know that is a right, and that isn't something preached by the right. If you want to know that your roads are not going to be toll roads, that every person, no matter what income they make, that they can actually use a road and get to work as fast as that rich person who can afford the toll, that is what it takes. That's a progressive value. That's not a right-wing value. And I can go on and on and on. Let me tell you something else, brother. The Republican Party at one time used to be what the Democratic Party is now.
Thank you.
Okay? We have a reversal. It is incumbent on every single Republican to realize that right now that there's a reversal. And there absolutely should not be any person who cares about human values, who care about their brothers and sisters in this particular election. I'm not asking folks to drop their republicanism, but I'm saying there absolutely should be nobody who believes in human values right now to vote for absolutely any Republican candidate in this election. Anybody doing that, it's a fraud.
What you say to that, Warren?
Hold up. I wanted to jump in because I know everybody got a chance to get their first thoughts in, and I got a couple that I just want to throw in. And we already are way behind as a state, when it comes to health care. We are dead last in the country.
Yes.
We have the most sick people in the country, and especially here in Houston, in a city that is known for its hospitals worldwide, where the wealthy fly in on a daily basis in their private jets and go get some of the best health care in the country, in the world, right here. And yet we have, was it 600,000 to 700,000 particular, people that could be that could have health care right now in this same state.
Yes.
But because it was a right-wing plan with Obama's name on it, we said, no, we're going to stay 50th. And we're the last country. We're the last country in the world, industrialized country, that don't take care of their sick people. We have people that are literally in bankruptcy. Number one bankruptcy is because of medical expenses. People losing their homes. People are dying. because we don't have health care. That right there should be enough. Just the health care alone. But then when you look at, they're just blatantly running up the debt because of a tax plan that they promised would be good for everybody. And yes, they bragged about 6 million people got a bonus, but they didn't talk about how as soon as those bonuses went away, a lot of those major manufacturers started laying off. Sam's closing now. All these major, they got a bonus. That was their last check before the store closed around the country. Sears is closing. Thousands people are closed, but yet we had the largest amount of corporate buybacks in the history of the United States, with the billions of dollars that came back to the wealthy. Just in those two alone. And now the leader of the Republican Party has come out. He's not hiding. He said it this week. When they mentioned the debt because of the tax, he said, yes, we got debt. It's because of Social Security, because of Medicare, and because those are his words, the entitlements. We've got to tackle the entitlements. That was the setup the whole time with the tax cuts. Blow a hole in the deficit like they always do. Every single Republican. Now this facts. The country does better economically under Democratic presidents, period. That's just facts. I know we live in a fact-free world right now, but those are literal facts that we on the progressive side believe in. Those are real facts. I say all that to say that, as you mentioned, my brother, this ain't about party anymore. This is about who has the best interest of this country. And when you look at the things that they are offering, it's either you're for us or you against us. And right now, they ain't hiding. It's out in public who they for. So the bottom line is, just on those three things alone, that should give you enough information that if you have family members who are struggling, if you have people who can't pay their bills because they got, I take care of family members who have now seen, who've been working places 17 years that has cancer, and they don't have enough money to pay for their bills. And they work at a hospital. And they still don't have coverage. This is the country we live in.
Okay. Thank you, brother, for that passionate speech. But Warren, back to the issue. With all of that being said, is it the responsibility of government to take care of people's health care?
It is not. Not in the United States. Some people even was under the impression, believing that even employment, that the government, there's no law anywhere in the Constitution, any law says the government have to give you a job. There's nowhere in the Constitution that the government have to take care of you. That was one thing that made people come to America. You were free to do as you please as long as what you were doing did not interfere with anybody else. Okay, now we've had flaws and obstacles along with that. Let me give you two statements by the great Booker T. Washington. You know, I studied Booker T. And this is where I get a lot of my inspiration and spark from. Booker T said this. He said, among a large class, talking about black folks, there seemed to be a dependence upon the government for every conceivable thing. The members of this class had little ambition to create a position for themselves, but wanted the federal officials to create one for them. How many times I wished then, and have often wished since, that by some power of magic I might remove the great bulk of these people into the country districts and plant them upon the soil, upon the solid and never deceptive foundation of Mother Nature, where all nations and races that have ever succeeded have gotten their start. A start that at first may be slow and toilsome, but one that nevertheless is real. Let me give you some American and Texas history here, and this is what I can't understand, because I'm a black man, and I can't understand this about my people, and I don't know. Let's lay this down. The Republican Party was created in 1854, and it was created by abolitionists to basically stop the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which was going to stop the spread of slavery. Okay, that was its creation. Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president, was elected in November of 1860. December the 29th, 1845, Texas was admitted to the Union as a democratic state. March the 2nd, 1861, Texas becomes the 7th of 11 states to secede from the Union, which is 2 days prior to Abraham Lincoln taking office. Texas sees its first Republican governor from the time that it's been accepted. It didn't see a Republican governor until December of 1853 until 1857. And then Texas has one independent president, which is Sam Houston, from 1859 to 1861. Then another governor, which from 1863, which Democratic Governor Pendleton Murrah, who ends up fleeing the office of the governor when he heard that the Union troops are headed to Texas, okay, to stop slavery here in Texas. From that time, we had Democratic governors for 100 years before another Republican governor was elected. And what I still don't understand, from now, I've watched, and I can sit up here and I can give you bills from up until the civil rights time, what the Republican Party has done over and over for people of color. When people of color thrived in this country, they've never thrived upon the Democratic policies and rules. Democratic policies and rules has incarcerated more black people, have tore down black families and black communities, and we still walk right back to the plantation and go back to the plantation.
I am sorry.
So I don't understand that.
Yeah, jump in, Egberto.
I am sorry.
Yeah.
I am sorry, my friend. Respectfully, that's a bunch of crap.
Well,
And let me
tell
explain.
me
Let
how
me
it's a
let me
bunch
tell
of
you
crap.
first of all.
Please tell me.
The history that you just recalled, I don't care, and nobody listening should care about that history. It's not yours, and it never was yours. And when you talk,
I'm a part of the
sir,
United States and Texas,
sir,
so don't
mean-
tell me it's not
sir,
mine.
I didn't interrupt
Yeah,
you.
let him finish, Warren.
I never
All right.
interrupted you once.
Go ahead.
It does not matter. And the reason it does not matter is because, first of all, anybody, you follow current history, and current history would tell you that the people who were the Republicans, those of the civil rights, those who allowed the civil rights to pass, it wasn't Democrats, it was, or rather, it was some Democrats, but Republicans, liberal Republicans, were the ones who allowed the civil rights to pass. That said, what happened to the Democrats who didn't want it? Those are the people you are worshiping right now. The Dixiecrats is the current Republican Party, and that is who you're playing your allegiance to right now.
No, that's a bunch of crap.
Name every single one of the Republican guys right now. They were previous Democrats of the Dixiecrat brand, and that's no question. Just read your history, just like you found that history.
Egberto, let me ask you this. What
Yes.
about those, as we saw Kanye West sitting in the Oval Office, say that Democrats started the welfare state?
He's a tool, but he's right.
Yeah, okay.
He's partially right.
So isn't that what?
Yes, that's what. But here's the thing: misinformation gives lies plausibility, and that's the problem. Whenever you have good, and that is what the Heritage Foundation and the Cato Institute are there for.
Yeah.
They are there to give plausibility to lies that can convince my brother here to misconstrue information that screws us as a society. Now let me speak, my white brothers and sisters, hold up a second, but let me speak to my black brothers and sisters. Let me tell you something. You vote your values, and your values have nothing congruent with the Republican Party right now. If you do that, you're a stooge of the system. There's no two ways about it. And that can be enumerated, that can be qualified.
Are we going to be a victim or are we going to be a victim?
There's not about a victim. You are a victim, my dear.
I'm not a victim at all. I don't play the victim mentality.
Victim
I never
of
have.
circumstance. And
I'm
let me
not
tell
a
you why.
victim
And
at
let me
all.
tell you why. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. You are a victim of circumstance. It's important for us to understand.
Brother, you may
wait,
be a victim, but you're not going to tell me I'm a victim.
Let me tell you what
All
you
right?
said. You said, "Oh my God, government." You read Booker T.
Mm-hmm.
You read Booker T.
That's right.
Literally, and you didn't understand what he said. First of all, government is we, the people of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, government is, you see, here's what the Republican Party did, right? They wanted to screw the people of the United States. And how do they do that? The first thing they said is, you people of the United States, you guys are idiots. How do we know you're idiots? Because somehow you don't realize that we, the people, the government, is you. So therefore, when they say, oh, government employing, they're not talking about some mythical figure employing. When I say the government employs, we're talking about we, the people, choose to employ. When I talk about regulations, we're talking about we, the people, protecting we, the people, against the corporation who can actually do what his president is currently doing. In other words, you have Cancer Alley right here in Pasadena. Right here in Pasadena. Trump voters extraordinaire. Cancer Alley. And what laws just got passed? Oh, we can now release more benzene in the atmosphere. The coal country, Appalachia. That's why I said our allies are white Appalachian people. I am trying to unite the Appalachian whites, the ghetto blacks, and the Latinos in the barrios. And the reason why is that is how we are going to beat this system. The reality is the Republican Party is screwing them all. The laws that were passed to release the ash from the coal mines were mercury dropped into streams, not in the homes of the Republicans where they live, but in the homes of the Appalachians, white people where they live. The benzene that was released in the air. You see, here's the thing. These are what, I don't care about the theories and the nice thing the Cato Institute and the Heritage Foundation told you to say. What I care about are my people. Mm-hmm. White, black, Latino, and everybody else. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I want to make sure that they're protected, and they have to be protected to not only the Republican Party, who is a stooge of the corporate system, the same globalism you spoke about correctly, but also from, believe it or not, and I say this with respect, from people like you, because you are more dangerous to our people than the government is to them. Because
it's very dangerous, huh? Warren is a dangerous brother.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Because that is what the Republican Party does. When you have Ben Carson, when you have Kanye West, and when you have all these people that somehow give plausibility to screw you, it is more dangerous because it is somehow somebody that should have something in common with you. And that is how you work. You don't convince people that know nothing about you or is nothing like you. You look for somebody similar to you, and that's what they're doing with you, brother.
So, no, that's not what they're doing with me. What I do understand
before you jump in, I want to go into the fact that Trump will be here this week.
Yeah,
and we will be there.
We'll be at the Toyota Center.
Yeah.
And you have been on record as saying Trump is not only emblematic of the Republican Party, he's exactly what America needs.
Exactly.
Can you go into maybe 3 or 4 reasons why you believe that is true for those out there who are saying, what the hell is this Negro talking about?
Well, one thing for sure.
This Negro don't know what he's talking about.
Are you finished?
Go ahead.
Thank you. All right. One thing for sure is that basically Trump, to me, as you said, the Republican Party we have now is not the Republican Party that we used to have. The way that we used to be in the United States, we are slipping away from that. Now you can't even say certain things. If you say certain things and offend a certain person, you can lose your job. You can lose everything that you have. And so those type of values that we had as being Americans, you know how we were. So now those type of things is coming back. I don't understand why people are upset. We got more jobs.
Thank you for that call. Appreciate that call.
We got more jobs. We got tax cuts. We got jobs coming back. But yet people are upset. What are you upset about? Immigration. What's wrong with making America first? That's one of the first laws of nature. Nature is self-preservation. I have to look out for me before I can look out for anybody else. And so these things that are changing, he's changing things up at the United Nations, as well as we've been responsible of taking care of all these people. All those things are changing and putting us first. That's why I said that.
Okay, Miss P, jump in.
First of all, let me say this. If we don't know our history, we're doomed to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in 1927 in Texas, the Democratic Party would not let blacks vote in the primary. So you had 3 attorneys, Atkins, Neighbor, and Wesley, went to the Supreme Court and won, Cedric, and came back to Texas, and them white folks told them, give a doggone where you went, you still ain't gonna vote. Second, I don't remember all the Republican governors, but I do know the first Republican governor since Reconstruction was Bill Clemens.
Yes.
Bill Clemens had more blacks on his payroll. Bill Clemens was concerned, because I visited him 4 or 5 times. One time I went to visit him because they were talking about merging or closing my school, TSU. And he said, come on in my office, Mr. Provost. What are you here for? I said, told him, he said, as long as I'm governor, TSU remain independent because black folks need TSU. I said, well, do a press conference in the morning so I can have some evidence. And he did. Bill Clemens was in our community all the time. And if these governors that we have, included Abbott, Y'all need to go back and look at Bill Clinton's records and see what he did for black folks and how he put us on his map. Second of all, I don't have no respect for the Democrats, and I don't have no respect for the Republicans, because neither one of them got anything on their agenda talking about black folks.
I'm not going to argue with the dean, but I have one thing to add to that, my friend. I think there's some agreement when we talk about the left rail and the right rail going in the same direction, you know, so we may have some agreement there, but all I care about is policy. And right now, the policy that matters, I think, is a progressive policy.